What's up, guys? We are back for another Mythic Legions review. We are taking a look at the first female figure I'm tackling, and that would be XARRIA. So we've got her here in the standard packaging. You can see her in that big window. On the collector-friendly packaging, we have got a bio for her on the side, and then the back has that same artwork that we see throughout the line. So let's pull her out and take a look. Alright guys, here is XARRIA out of the package. This is the first female figure that I'm tackling, and I'm pretty excited to get a hold of this one because she's very striking in terms of what the figures in this line bring to the table. She's kind of a figure apart in that way in terms of her look and feel, so I had to crack her open first. And I figure it's worth noting now that if you guys are interested in snatching these up for yourself, you can still get pre-orders in at Big Bad Toy Store. They aren't the original pre-orders. You're going to pay a little more, but it's your only real shot right now to get them anytime soon outside of going to another more independent retailer. So I'll put a link down below if you want to check that out. But as far as this figure goes, she is a little different from what we've seen with the previous two figures I've looked at so far, Thistlethorn and Gonks. Her articulation is a little limited, and of course her design is very different. So of course we're going to start off with articulation because we have to see how this one moves around. There are a few things to point out. So to start, we do have a head on a ball, which is pretty normal. So she has a lot of movement. She can go up, she can go down, she can bobble side to side, and of course she can go all the way around. You can rotate her ponytail as well. This thing is actually a separate piece, so you could pull it out if you really wanted to, but you can articulate it to, give her a little more life, and I really do like that aspect of things. It kind of makes it a little more dynamic depending on how you pose her. Arms go out, but they don't really go all the way out. If they're supposed to go 90, I'm having a very hard time making them do that. I feel like they're going to snap if I go any further, so I'm not too sure they're actually going to. You can rotate. There is rotation at the elbow. There is a single jointed hinge, and you get roughly 90 degrees. There is rotation at the gauntlet, so at the forearm. There's rotation at the wrist, and we've got a single back and forth style hinge there. We have got upper diaphragm joint here, so she can go all the way around. She goes back a little bit, and she goes forward pretty decently, so she does have a good range of motion at the diaphragm there, so in lieu of what would be a waist twist. Legs go out pretty decently. My joints are still pretty stiff, and it's cold in the toy room, so they might go a little further, but I think that's about as far as they're going to go, honestly. And then, of course, you have got a swivel at the thigh, because there's no cut on these legs. There's rotation at the knee, and then there's a single jointed hinge. We have got rotation and rocker, full rocker. You can't get any more rockery than that. And then we've got a hinge on those ankles down there on her hooves. So she has mostly everything that some of the other figures have, but being a female and preserving some of the body work, they have removed some cuts. So there's no thigh cut, so to speak. We have just a hip swivel, and then there's obviously no bicep swivel, which is pretty normal, but there's no waist twist or anything like that. So mostly the same stuff, but some are a little more restricted than others, but you can still get her into some solidly dynamic poses. Now, beyond her slightly limited articulation, what really drew me to this figure was her look. And I do like the overall very demonic aspect of her. She's very unique in this particular wave. I like her armor plating. There's some nice, very subtle purple shading that's in the breastplate and then on the shin guards. It's not on the waist. It's just a kind of a black pitted overspray almost. And I really like the kind of tattoo work that's done on her neck and her chest and her abdomen and her arm. It's very nice. It stands out. It's very crisp and clean. And then we've got some very subtle but very impactful shading on her body. So she changes from kind of a dark orange to the red color. She's obviously predominantly red, but you can see on her stomach and up here on her shoulders and on her thighs that there's some subtle shading to kind of bring her out a little bit. And then of course we've got even more of that tattoo work on her back. You can see, as usual, we've got those ports on the back for all the adapters. But I do think that in general she looks pretty solid. I'm very happy with the overall, demon aspect here, and I dig the hooves for feet. That's really nice. That's a good subtle touch to kind of clue you in that, yeah, there's something extra demon-y about this figure outside of the fact that she has this crazy head sculpt. So, I really like everything about the figure from a looks aspect, even more so though when we talk about the face and all of the business going on her head. So as far as this head goes, there's a lot going on here, all things considered. I think there's a lot of work going in here that may go unseen at first glance because just like her body, there is a ton of paint shading. She has a subtle little design on her forehead You know, I don't know where her forehead starts and stops, honestly. But we've got a nice big plate on the top of it as well. So there's a subtle little design. It's a kind of an orange hue, but then it bleeds into the red, and the red goes all the way up these crazy horns. I really dig the horns. Everything about that really speaks to me. Very much keys in this design for the figure. All of these lines on her face are sculpted and then painted, so they're not just paint lines. Those are sculpted in there. I like the pupilless eyes. That another key aspect of what she is. And then of course we've got the ponytail, which has the, you know, little barrette up there at the top, whatever you want to call that. And I really dig the paint shading that they did on this. So it starts as kind of black, dark blue, and then it goes to this kind of cerulean style blue, which looks really great. I'm very, very happy with that. It's a stark contrast to her body and her face and her head, but it's a nice change. It brings things out. It makes everything pop a little more. So from the waist down, she's great. From the waist up, she's great. From the neck up, she's great. Everything about the look on this figure is really keyed in, and I'm very happy with that. Now, as far as accessories for Xarria go, we do have kind of the standard smattering of adapters and the sheath that can go around her waist for, you know, changing her up a bit. So we've got those. That's nothing new. We've got what I consider to be kind of her signature weapon, as far as what comes in her package anyway. We've got this dark gray cutlass style blade with a nice shiny gold hilt. I really like the design on this. I'm not familiar with it. I'm not sure if other figures come with it. They likely do, but I haven't encountered it yet, so it's a cool new one for me personally. We've got this little dagger here, shiny metallic blade with a nice gold hilt. That's nothing new. I've seen that in other figures. A lot of figures come with that guy. And then we have this thing, the big one, figuratively and literally speaking. So this is her scepter, her staff, and it's taller than she is. I mean, it's you know, a head taller than her. I'm okay with this. I like the design in a general sense. I just don't think it's very well suited for her. For some reason, this doesn't look like something for me that she would use. And I do have an issue with the fact that this thing is so wide in diameter, and she has really narrow hands, so they have to stretch to actually grip it anywhere other than towards the bottom. And it's so heavy that if she grips it at the bottom, it really doesn't stand up very well. Beyond that, the sculpt is fine. I don't like the coloration on it. I don't like the dark gunmetal gray with an immediate change to gold. It just doesn't look right to me. Something about it's kind of off. It looks like these two pieces, because this is removable, it kind of looks like they don't go together. And while I get the gray and the purple, because she definitely has that on her armor, the gold just kind of looks odd. So I may not use this. I might switch this out for another character, because I think the scepter in general would work for her. But something about this particular one is kind of iffy for me. And then, of course, as you can see, I have changed her look up. We do have pauldrons for this particular character, and they very much look just like her armor. They don't really have any of the purple embellishments that the knee pads or the breastplate does, but they have very much the same kind of pitted and patinaed look that the waist plates do. So I like these. You know, I've said previously that I'm a big fan of the pauldrons in this line. It does impede movement, but it makes the characters look so much more imposing, and she just really looks like she's even more so ready for battle now than without them. So all things considered, I am pretty happy with Xarria, although, of course, I do have a few criticisms. I'm not quite as over the moon with her as with the other figures I've looked at. You know, she is slightly limited in articulation in a few ways, and I think we're going to see that with the females. That's not too crazy. It's not exactly unexpected either. Beyond that, my main gripe is really going to come down to her accessories, and I really don't think that that scepter is exactly meant for her. While it looks good in theory, and I like the design on its own, I don't like the color change that it has going on, and I don't think she can hold it very well, at least not one-handed. It seems awkward, and I worry that I'm going to stretch that hand out a little too much. Other than that, though, she's a solid entry. I'm glad I opened her earlier rather than later to take a look at this one, because she definitely looks very, very cool, very imposing, and she's going to make a great addition to the Legion ranks. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mythic Legion's Advent of Decay Xarria figure from 4 Horsemen. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.